Ocarina of Time 3D upscaled in HD with the Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, reliving the most crucial battles for the Triforce and the timeline split in a truly unique Triforce collection. Actually, it could be one of the simplest porting jobs Nintendo has ever done, and people will line up like never before to play the best version of 3 of Zelda's most beloved titles, period. Here is why. Hello there, Commonwealth Realm here. The Zelda 35th anniversary is here, and with it eventually more information and trailers regarding Breath of the Wild sequel will come, and hopefully we'll get a Zelda Game & Watch and Battle Royale Zelda 35. If Mario could get it, why not Zelda? But in reality it looks like Zelda, who has a major new 3D title in the works, that being Breath of the Wild 2, and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity released recently, I think we can only hope for one of 2 games before the title and release day of Breath of the Wild sequel is finally revealed. A Triforce collection and Skyward Sword HD. Both would celebrate anniversaries, since 2021 marks the 10th anniversary of Skyward Sword, the 15th anniversary of Twilight Princess, the 30th anniversary of A Link to the Past, and obviously the 35th anniversary of the first Legend of Zelda. Now out of these we already have NES Zelda, Zelda 2 and A Link to the Past for Nintendo Switch Online. And when you think of it, with the Link's Awakening remake we have all the 4 first Zelda games from 1986 to 1993 on the Nintendo Switch. Yes, Skyward Sword is the first Zelda game in the timeline of the franchise itself, but we'll have a dedicated video as this remake needs some work. Instead I want to talk about the other 3D console Zeldas which are still not present on the Nintendo Switch. After 1993's Link's Awakening, much like now after Breath of the Wild, the Zelda fanbase was subjected to a 5-year-long wait for a brand new game in the series. Then in late 1998 we got a little title called Ocarina of Time, and it changed everything. Going from 2D to 3D, introducing 2 time periods, and most of all, the human before Ganondorf. The concept of how the complete Triforce split between 3 individuals and introduced a notorious timeline split. And this is exactly what an HD Triforce collection should focus on if we get it this year. Ganondorf's rise and fall, the split and subsequent battles for the Triforce, the timeline split, and the 2 games that followed in the 2 timelines of the Hero of Time. In other words, the HD collection of Ganondorf, the Hero of Time and his legacy. With our lineup of Ocarina of Time, the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess set, I need to address why Nintendo, much like in the case of Super Mario Galaxy 2 and the Mario 3D All-Star collection, will most likely drop Majora's Mask from a Zelda HD collection. There are 2 reasons, thematic and technical. The thematic is rather obvious. Heroes with Zeldas versus Ganondorf and battles for the split Triforce. This premise is obviously not found in Majora's Mask, which whether you like it or not was a side quest game, but which became far more than that. Still, Ganondorf removes Majora's Mask as this collection's main aim will be to revive the importance of the human Ganon, before his comeback after over 15 years of absence in Breath of the Wild sequel. His story of cunning and manipulative origin, reflective return and rage-induced end, as he could never let the past go on and move on. Ganondorf, using the Triforce of Power, wants to rule Hyrule, but the blood of the goddess and the spirit of the hero are in his way to obtain the complete Triforce and full control over the Divine Kingdom. And just like that, in 2 long sentences, I have explained the weight and importance of this collection, Ganondorf, and why it has to happen with Ocarina of Time and the 2 games after the timeline split, the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. As for the technical argument, Majora's Mask on the Nintendo 64 had a long list of cryptic mechanics that were addressed in Majora's Mask 3D on the 3DS. Though knowing Nintendo after the 3D All-Stars laziness, I doubt that the 3DS version of the N64 classics would be used. Though you know what? This would be Nintendo's greatest mistake, as implementing a lazy 720p emulation with no widescreen of Ocarina of Time for an HD Zelda Triforce collection is not only a disservice to the Zelda franchise, but Ganondorf himself. Nintendo should, and in my opinion must, upscale, emulate Ocarina of Time 3D in HD. The obvious and most meaningful reason being a consistent experience of Ganondorf's lengthy story with the most recent versions of the games, that being Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, and Ocarina of Time 3D. We know that Nintendo on a corporate level are not big fans of the legacy content, and in particular the early 3D games, which explains the end date of Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Even so, in the case of Ganondorf, we're talking about a 3-game chronology story that is yet to be concluded in Breath of the Wild 2. And thus this Triforce Ganondorf collection shouldn't have an end date or use the laziest forms of emulation. When you pair it with the best and only Zelda HD remakes that Nintendo has delivered alongside Link's Awakening since 2013. No, Ocarina of Time 3D with its quality of life improvements, Master Quest, and Boss Rush mode deserves to be upscaled to full HD 1080p for its 10th anniversary to the Nintendo Switch. Not only that, it also deserves to receive fully functioning dual camera controls, just like Majora's Mask 3D got in 2015. The only reason why Ocarina of Time still doesn't have dual camera controls, also in the 3D version, is that the original 3DS, much like the N64, only had one circular pad, or analog stick. Naturally, this process along with upscaling and updating Ocarina of Time 3D to HD is a task that should be handed to Grezzo. In return for this effort, instead of a $60 collection, make it a $100 Zelda HD Triforce Ganondorf collection. Yes, some of you may say this is pricey, but having 3 full HD connected story-driven experiences at its best in widescreen and fully portable, and where 2 of them are Wii U Deluxe ports plus an upscaled 3DS Classic, is the best thing you can do, since you will give us and all the 10+ million Breath of the Wild newcomers around half a year to play it before we continue Ganondorf's thread in Breath of the Wild sequel. What kind of thread is this? One that Ocarina of Time splits and continues in 2 different realities, adult and child, the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And luckily for all of us, both are in HD and just have to be deluxe to the Switch from the Wii U. In other words, remove the gamepad dual screen functionality that was eventually also scrapped from Breath of the Wild. Do that and combine with Ocarina of Time 3D HD, you have the most worthy of Zelda Triforce Ganondorf collections that you can possibly imagine, before the confrontation in Breath of the Wild sequel. Actually, I would be willing to pay $120 for this collection if it contains Ocarina of Time 3D in Full HD, The Wind Waker HD, and Twilight Princess HD. Here is why. To beat Ocarina of Time 3D with no speedrunning shenanigans, you need around 25 hours, and 31 if you do some of the main side quests and activities. For the Wind Waker HD, it is around the same or slightly more, and for Twilight Princess HD, it is 30 hours and 39 hours with doing the most crucial side quests, like the Hero Shade questline. And yes, each of these 3 games, which are more than 15 years old, have a longer main quest than Cyberpunk 2077, according to howlongtobeat.com. So I think the price is more than justified at this point. Also because Ocarina of Time 3D, The Wind Waker HD, and Twilight Princess HD are glorious experiences of cutting down the length of the most annoying portions of each game and making our adventures so much more enjoyable. And with the hero modes, master quests in all 3 games, you would get real value for your money, as you have extra replay value, unlike what is found in the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection. The Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD are pretty much the only games left that we absolutely need ported over from the Wii U after Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is out. Downgrading them and not giving us any extra content does not warrant a full $120 price, especially since they are already remakes and remasters of GameCube and Wii versions of the same games. But giving us Ocarina of Time 3D in HD changes the equation, and will make the Zelda 35th Anniversary Triforce Ganondorf collection the best Nintendo has ever made, with maybe the exception of the Metroid Prime trilogy. A must play and must own before and after Breath of the Wild sequel releases. Imagine playing this collection with a special Triforce Nintendo Switch Pro controller, or on a golden Triforce engraved Nintendo Switch dock, system and Joy-Cons. Trust me, this collection will easily sell better than Super Mario 3D All-Stars, and will continue to sell for years to come. Since we're not talking about the limited release legacy titles from 64, GameCube and Wii, but updates and ports of already existing 3DS and Wii U remakes, with quality of life improvements, and well that and a trilogy storyline of one of gaming's most iconic villains, Ganondorf. And that is all that needs to be said about the Zelda HD Triforce collection. A golden collection that deserves and needs a release before Breath of the Wild sequel to set up Ganondorf as the villain of the series for newcomers in the last 4 to 5 years. These games are beloved by so many for a reason, and with big sales numbers, then you can release Majora's Mask 3D upscaled to HD later down the line, bundled with Ocarina of Time 3D upscaled to HD for $60. Well, that and Skyward Sword HD, but that remake remaster is a topic for a different video. For now, I would love if you could like this video, and if you're new or haven't already, subscribe to help us grow towards 300,000 subscribers. And if you are subscribed, press that notification bell and again for all notifications to not miss any of our upcoming Zelda 35th Anniversary and Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 videos. Finally, a big thanks goes to all our great patreon.com/commonrealm patrons, and in particular our royal producer Charles Shash. You and our YouTube members rock, and to all of you, please enjoy one or both of these 2 awesome videos.